While visiting the state of Maine this summer, there were a few things about the state I was not expecting, like the rocks on this beach that look just like giant old weathered logs. Even the end grain on the rock looks just like wood grain. I'm starting to wonder if this was one of Paul Bunyan's log decks he left behind on the beach when he headed west. They used to be wood, but over time, they petrified. The geology people say it's not petrified wood, it's metamorphosized sedimentary rock. The grain pattern comes from the layers of sediment. But I'm wondering if they've ever considered the Paul Bunyan hypothesis. I think they should come back and study this again. This could be evidence that Paul Bunyan was real. How did I end up in Maine anyway? It all started in Portland, Oregon, where I got loaded into one of these big aluminum cans. The next thing I knew, this aluminum can was on the move, and it was a fast one. I'm reminded of the words of Crocodile Dundee, who when in a similar situation put it best when he said, "Jesus Christ." After a whole lot more time sitting in this thing than this video would suggest I did, we started going down over the city of Boston. Just as it was starting to look like we were about to make a water landing, the pilot was nice enough to find a flat spot on dry land to set this thing down on. Which was good because I was not in the mood to take a swim at that time under those circumstances. After getting our rental car, we made it up to a really old town just in time to have a mediocre dinner with a beautiful bay view. Another thing I wasn't expecting to see in Maine was the Bush compound. Apparently George wasn't in the mood that day to come out and greet us and invite us in, but we did get to see it from a distance. That day I was in more of a mood to go swimming than I was the day before. It's not every day I get to see the Atlantic Ocean. I might as well get in it while I'm here. I would like to think that I was body surfing, but it's probably more accurate to call it floundering in the waves. I met up with the fine folks at North Spore, a company in Maine who supplies materials for growing mushrooms. They had their annual Mycology Outside event just outside of Saco, Maine, where they invited me to come out, do a presentation about managing forests for growing mushrooms. I know what you're all probably thinking, so out of character for me to be standing out in the woods, flapping my jaw, talking about trees and such. But with those three things, I might take it. And someone was asking about this small one. One of the great things about speaking to a live audience, if it's raining, it's okay if the audience gets wet. Unlike making videos, if my video and audio equipment get wet, that can be a problem. While we're in Maine, we might as well spend some time exploring the place. I wasn't expecting there to be mountains in this part of the state, but we did climb this thing that they called a mountain. I'm not so sure I would call this a mountain, but keep in mind, I come from Oregon, where we have mountains. I'm not even sure I would consider these to be hills. I would say they're more like surface anomalies. I was expecting Maine to be a beautiful state, and with that, it did not disappoint. Maine is a beautiful state. I enjoyed seeing all the trees out here that are different than the ones I'm used to in the West. Birch, hickory, eastern hemlock, eastern larch, the white pine, the maples. I think I almost have it figured out how to tell a sugar maple from a red maple from all the other trees I'm not used to. There is a lot of water here. Oceans, bays, inlets, outlets. There's more water here than places that don't have this much water. If you're into lighthouses, this is the place to go because they have them scattered all over the place here. And of course a lot of boats because Maine is the lobster fishing capital of the world. Another thing I wasn't expecting in Maine was all the wild blueberries. They're all over the place. You can just pick and eat as many blueberries as you want, which made it a little bit difficult for me to walk down the trails because I'm always being tempted by the blueberries. Berries are one of my many favorite things to eat. In that regard, I would have made a good bear. Although if I was a bear, then I really couldn't have nice things because of myself. In the West, we have huckleberries, which are related, but these are actual blueberries. And I don't understand why there aren't more people out here eating them. And the cranberries. Cranberries are just growing wild. When we get into Down East Maine, most of the trees are small. This is due to shallow soils because most of the soil was scraped off by glaciers down to bare granite in the last ice age. In some places, this is as big as they get. It's not so good for growing trees, but it works out well for the blueberries and makes for some beautiful granite shorelines.
Oh boy, there it goes. Oh, there were 3 of them.
It's also good for the whales. Okay, not so much the granite. I think the whales are more into the water part of the shoreline. I don't think whales are going to get a whole lot of use out of granite. Whales are more into water. We have some minke whales and some porpoise. Whales and porpoise are another thing I wasn't expecting to see in Maine. Is it porpoise or porpoises? Or porpoises? Or porpi? I wasn't expecting to see any of them, but I probably should have because Maine is right next to the ocean. And that's where they live, in the ocean. I already knew this was the lobster fishing capital of the world. I was expecting to see all the lobster fishing paraphernalia. I'm not sure what's going on with that setup. Looks like they have a lot going on down there. Strange things scattered all over the place. I wasn't expecting Maine lobster to be so delicious. I've had lobster before, it was okay, but you haven't had lobster until you've had fresh Maine lobster, cooked the right way. Go way up there, they said. It'll be fun, they said. That's way up there. We got in the elevator, hit the button for the second floor. Next thing we know, the doors open and we are way up here. And that is way down there. It's only 447 feet above the ground. I'm mostly okay with heights, but I can see how this could be problematic for those who have a fear of heights. Fortunately, it didn't tip over while we were in it, and we made it back to the ground alive. There you have it. That was the main part of the video. I'll leave you now with some of the sights and sounds from the coast of Maine. I'll let the bird have the last word.